Hey everyone, I'm so glad you're here. Please like and subscribe to the channel to give me more motivation to tell more interesting stories. Now let's begin. You've always believed that words matter. Not just the big ones that land in headlines or hang in mission statements, but the tiny ones, the in-betweens, the prepositions, the nuances, the pauses. You know that let's discuss feels very different from we need to talk. And in business, those differences, they don't just change tone, they change outcomes. That's why you became a translator. Not the kind people picture when they hear the word headphones booths, urgent whispering at the UN, but a quiet operator behind closed doors. You handle contracts, diplomatic partnerships, the occasional crisis with just enough wiggle room to stop lawsuits before they start. You work for a multinational tech firm, headquartered in Chicago, offices across Tokyo, Sao Paulo, Berlin. English is the spine, but your work is the muscle keeping the body from collapsing. You love it. You take pride in smoothing jagged phrases into meaning, in catching cultural landmines before they detonate. You once rewrote an entire presentation slide because the word partner translated poorly in Mandarin and almost implied an affair. That little fix saved a merger. But no one cheers for near misses. You know that. Still, you do the job. Then the CEO changes. He comes in like a storm with perfect teeth. MBA, private equity background, speaks in ROI per syllable. The kind of man who talks about disrupting HR unironically. At first, he ignores your team. Then he starts asking questions. What exactly do these people do? Why are we spending so much on language services? One meeting, he chuckles while reading your monthly report. I mean, come on. How hard can it be to translate a sentence? Google Translate exists, right? Your manager forces a polite laugh. You do not. Fun fact, Google Translate was launched in 2006, and even today, linguists agree it can capture basic grammar, but not tone, idiom, or context. Historians still argue whether machine translation will ever match the intuition of a trained human mind. You want to explain that nuance doesn't live in algorithms, but you know better than to argue in public. So you fold your hands, wait, and keep working until the moment comes when your name is on a spreadsheet and your job disappears along with everything you thought they understood. The calendar says Monday, but the vibe screams Friday, the bad kind, where layoffs happen before lunch and the coffee machine is mysteriously broken. You're summoned to a realignment briefing on the 12th floor. That's corporate code for we're about to ruin your week with a smile on our face. The CEO, Mr. Perfect Teeth, greets everyone with what you suspect he thinks is a reassuring nod. Your managers already seated, arms crossed, jaw tight. A whiteboard sits behind them, scrawled with words like leaner, agile, and the one you hate most, essential. The CEO begins with a speech that could have been written by ChatGPT on autopilot. In today's fast-paced global landscape, efficiency isn't just an advantage, it's survival. We've audited all departments. Redundancies must go. You feel it coming before he says it. We've determined that language services, while appreciated in the past, are now fully replicable through AI-assisted tools. Google Translate, DeepL. These solutions are more than adequate. He looks at you when he says it. Your role, unfortunately, is one of those no longer aligned with the company's strategic direction. You blink once, twice. Your brain starts translating this corporate babble into truth. We think you're replaceable, and we think it won't matter. They offer 2 weeks severance. Your manager doesn't make eye contact. Security escorts you down as if you've stolen trade secrets instead of just spelling them correctly in French. In the elevator, you murmur, Google Translate can't handle legalese in Thai. The guard shrugs. Boss's orders. You pack your things, photos, dictionaries, the little card from a client who once wrote, "You saved my reputation." You leave behind years of work unseen but essential. And you walk out into the Chicago wind, feeling like the last human in a world suddenly run by bots. Funny thing, the first known translator in history was Enheduanna, a priestess in ancient Mesopotamia. Historians still argue whether she wrote or adapted hymns, but either way, her voice reached across millennia. You wonder if yours ever reached across that conference table. You get home and stare at your bookshelves like they betrayed you. Roget's Thesaurus, 3-language dictionaries, even that overpriced cross-cultural negotiation manual you highlighted obsessively, useless now apparently, replaced by a free app that once translated, "I'm cold" into "I'm dead" in an HR email. True story. You sit on the couch, shoes still on coat, still zipped heartbeat, still climbing. You're not just unemployed, you're insulted. Because this wasn't a budget cut. It was a public erasure, a declaration that your entire craft was trivial. You didn't lose a job, you got downgraded to a plug-in. You think about that moment, the way he smirked. Even Google Translate, a phrase that loops in your mind like bad karaoke. You text your best friend Anna. Guess who's obsolete? She replies 2 seconds later. Did Elon Musk fire you? You chuckle. A little, but not enough. By midnight, you're doom-scrolling Reddit threads from linguists reading horror stories of machine translations gone rogue. One company turned childcare services available into child labor offered. Another sent a condolence letter that accidentally congratulated the recipient. Quirky fact, in 1954, IBM and Georgetown University ran the first public machine translation demo. It handled just 60 Russian sentences and only ones pre-programmed for success. Historians still argue whether it was a PR stunt or an actual breakthrough. You pour a glass of wine and re-watch your old TEDx talk, Language is Culture's Operating System. You remember that version of yourself, confident, idealistic, quoting Aristotle in 3 dialects. Where is that person now? You open your laptop and start rewriting your resume. Then you stop. Because honestly, you don't want another cubicle. You want revenge. Not the movie kind. The build something bigger than them kind. The kind where they come crawling back and you make them wait in your inbox. It begins with a misfire. 1 week after your dramatic exit, you receive an internal email from your old company. It's a mistake clearly not meant for you. Subject line urgent. Contract lost in translation. You click faster than a teenager buying concert tickets. The message is short panicked and riddled with passive-aggressive undertones. Client in Sao Paulo says new proposal was insulting, used deep L, but can someone check the phrasing, or was something culturally off? You nearly spit out your tea. Insulting. You scan the forwarded Portuguese lines. They used a phrase that directly translates to underhanded advantage. In Brazil, it implies deceit. In a contract, it's like calling someone a scammer with a straight face. A tiny difference. A big explosion. You stare at the screen. It's all falling apart just as you predicted. And they have no idea how to fix it. You're tempted to reply with a helpful correction, but instead, you screenshot the message and text Anna. And they said my work was redundant. She replies instantly, "You are the drama." You laugh, for real this time, but not because it's petty, because it's poetic. Quirky tidbit in Japan. An awkward silence in business meetings is considered polite. In Germany, it's a signal to move on. Historians still argue whether silence is more universal than speech when it comes to negotiation. At that moment, your silence feels louder than any comeback. You close your laptop and go for a walk. The air feels different, not lighter exactly, but purposeful, like the city's finally breathing in rhythm with you again. You pass a bakery. Inside, a woman is translating a menu for a confused tourist. No app, just kindness. You smile. Language still lives. And maybe, just maybe, your story isn't ending. It's restarting with subtitles off. You don't plan to start freelancing.
It just happens.
A former client from Berlin emails you out of nowhere. The subject line reads, "Hope you're still translating. Google just butchered our proposal." You laugh so hard you wake your cat. Turns out their automated translation made it sound like they were eager to exploit American incompetence instead of open to competitive collaboration. Subtle difference. Kind of important when you're trying not to start an international incident. You fix it in under 5 minutes. They PayPal you $300 with a thank you gif of Angela Merkel giving a thumbs up. That night you make a private folder on your desktop, Side Hustle She. By week's end, 3 more clients contact you. No resumes, no job interviews, just quiet pings from people who know the difference between precision and digital guesswork. You dust off your old translation software, invest in a second monitor, and turn your kitchen table into a miniature war room. It feels good, like bootstrapping rebellion. Quirky fact: the first documented multilingual dictionary dates back to the 16th century. It contained Latin, Greek, and Hebrew, handwritten, and used primarily by monks. Historians still argue whether it was meant to enlighten or gatekeep. You think about that as you toggle between French, Japanese, and Korean, slicing through syntax like a chef in a Michelin kitchen. But it's not just about grammar anymore. It's about dignity, because your old CEO treated your skill like a plug-and-play accessory. But these clients, they treat it like gold. You start charging more, and people still come. Your inbox becomes a cocktail of contracts, thank yous, and panicked help messages from executives stuck in multilingual quicksand. You go to bed with a grin. For the first time in weeks, your mind isn't racing. It's working. Not for them. For you. You're halfway through translating a contract for a Swedish renewable energy firm when a new name pops into your inbox. Subject referral from Maya. Urgent translation request. It's from a luxury brand in Milan. Their regional director is flying to Tokyo for a high-stakes partnership pitch and needs their entire proposal reviewed and reworded for both formality and flair. You check the attachment. The AI-generated version calls their new fragrance a scent that assaults the senses like rain on tin roofs. Oh no. You exhale through your nose, shake your head, and get to work. By morning, you've not only fixed the translation, you've elevated it. Now the copy reads, an evocative note that stirs memory like rain, tapping gently on a temple's eaves. The client replies, I don't know how you do this. Thank you, truly. And just like that, they're yours. It keeps happening. Word spreads like perfume, slow, lingering, hard to ignore. You redesign your website. Your tagline, precision, you can feel. Fun fact, in 1977, the Voyager spacecraft launched with the Golden Record, a time capsule featuring greetings in 55 languages. Historians still argue whether aliens would understand them or if we accidentally sent a multilingual mess into deep space. You wonder what your CEO would have done with that project. Probably plugged the phrases into Google Translate and hoped Saturn appreciated the effort. Meanwhile, your reputation begins to orbit beyond your old company. You sign 3 retainer clients, one in Dubai, another in Paris, and a surprising one from your hometown. Your old literature professor now running a publishing press. He says, we always knew you'd do something special with language. You try not to cry. It's not about the job anymore. It's about the story you're telling through every contract clause and culture-spanning sentence. And right now, it's a comeback story. One beautifully spelled, impeccably punctuated line at a time. The irony slaps you on a Tuesday. You're reviewing a poorly translated slide deck from a fintech startup in Singapore when your phone buzzes with a text from Anna. Have you seen this? It's a link to an article on a business news blog. CEO under fire for translation. Blunder that offended major client. You click. It's your old company. Apparently, the CEO approved a proposal generated entirely by an AI tool, no human check, no proofing, no filters. It was meant for a government partnership with a European agency. Instead of proposing a mutually beneficial relationship, it offered submissive compliance to shared interests. Yikes! The article includes leaked emails from the client, outraged, confused, and worst of all, disrespected. Your favorite part. This language seems culturally tone-deaf at best. It's as if it was generated without any understanding of diplomacy. You lean back, sipping your coffee, smiling at the poetic justice. Quirky tidbit. In 2009, a translation error in a Chinese restaurant sign went viral. The intended message, translate, server error, accidentally became the actual sign itself. Historians still argue whether it was ever corrected or just became a cult meme. You know how that feels now. You screenshot the article, file it away in your Victory Lattes folder, and get back to work. But then your phone rings. Unknown number. You answer cautiously. It's someone from the board. Polite, stiff, all business. They respectfully request a meeting to discuss a potential consulting arrangement. You don't say yes. You don't say no. You say send me an email. Because this time, you set the terms. And they wait in your inbox. The email comes within the hour. Subject line, begging without begging. Let's reconnect, consulting proposal enclosed. You open it. The offer is generous, ridiculously so. They want you to come back not as an employee, but as a contracted language consultant. Remote, flexible, with the authority to review and approve all outward-facing documentation across global regions. You know what this is. It's not just about your skills. It's damage control. They don't need a translator. They need the credibility you took with you when they shoved you out. You forward the offer to Anna with the caption, "So apparently Google Translate isn't the Messiah." She responds with 3 laughing emojis and, "Are you gonna take it?" You don't answer her yet. Instead, you pour a glass of wine and reread the proposal. It's corporate slick overuse of the word synergy, and so clearly written by someone trying not to look desperate that it's basically an email in drag. Fun fact, during the Cold War, a poor translation of Khrushchev's phrase, "We will outlast you," was mistakenly reported as "we will bury you," sparking global panic. Historians still argue whether that error nearly triggered a nuclear confrontation. You stare at your screen pondering modern war AI versus intuition, policy versus humanity, efficiency versus expertise. Then you start writing your response. Not a rejection, not an acceptance, but a new proposal, one with a few caveats. Triple your rate, total autonomy, public acknowledgement of the new partnership with your name and photo on the company website. If they want your mind, they're going to have to respect it. You click send, and, for the first time in months, your pulse doesn't spike after an email. You feel calm, centered, like someone who finally speaks the language of power and knows exactly how to use it. They respond the next morning, no edits, no pushback, no negotiation. Just 2 words. We agree. And a PDF contract attached signed. You're impressed, or maybe just amused. You've seen CEOs haggle over coffee filters and parking space paint colors, but now they're obedient. You upload your digital signature with the kind of smug satisfaction reserved for courtroom dramas and dramatic piano soundtracks. The new role begins immediately. Your first task: audit their global outreach deck. You open the file. On slide 3, they've described a new product as the supreme user command experience. You grimace. That's not just clunky, it's mildly fascist sounding. Slide 7 includes a translated bullet point that in Korean roughly reads, "We aim to overthrow your expectations with pain." You write, suggest revision. Unless you're launching a dystopian thriller. Quirky tidbit. In the 1980s, Pepsi's Come Alive with Pepsi slogan entered the Chinese market, where it got mistranslated into Pepsi brings your ancestors back from the dead. Historians still argue whether it helped or hurt sales. You wonder how many clients ghosted your old company out of sheer confusion before someone realized human nuance isn't a plug-in. Your work begins to shape their tone subtly but powerfully. Emails get shorter, presentations grow smoother, proposals sound less like bad subtitles and more like diplomacy. One manager even thanks you. It's weird. Our clients actually reply now. You nod unseen from your home office, surrounded by houseplants, coffee mugs, and post-it notes with elegant synonyms for urgent. You don't miss the break room, or the lanyard, or the performative Monday morning small talk. You just missed being valued. Now finally you are, and your words are back where they belong. Out in the world, doing work that matters. 3 weeks in, you get a surprise bonus. Not money though, that comes too. It's a message from the Tokyo client whose contract nearly imploded thanks to the earlier AI disaster. You'd fix the problem in a quiet back channel. No fuss, no credit. Until now. I understand you were the one who corrected the proposal. I just wanted to thank you. Our meeting went well, respectfully, smoothly. It made all the difference. Attached is a photo. The Tokyo skyline at night. The client standing with your old CEO, both smiling, shaking hands. The caption, "Thanks to careful language, trust was restored." You forward it to Anna with, "Plot twist, I'm now the company's secret weapon." She replies, "More like final boss energy." You snort laugh, knocking over your tea. Quirky tidbit. During World War II, the U.S. Navajo code talkers created an unbreakable code based on their native language. Historians still argue whether it was the single greatest tactical advantage in the Pacific theater. Language has always been more than communication. It's a shield, a sword, a bridge. You realize you're wielding all three. Your influence begins to spread inside the company. Marketing asks you to review ad campaigns. HR wants help rewording international job postings. Even the CEO, yes, the same one who fired you now, copies you on every draft before sending anything global. He never apologizes. Not once, but he does start calling you our cultural advisor, which is funny because he used to call culture a nice to have. Now it's a lifeline. You don't need his apology. You got something better, a front row seat to his transformation, and the satisfaction of knowing that the same words that once made you redundant are now making you indispensable. The ripple effect finds its way beyond the office. You start getting invitations from industry panels, webinars, even a TEDx event in Lisbon. All want you to speak on the topic, suddenly trending across corporate circles, the human cost of machine translation. You smile at the irony. Months ago, they dismissed you for an algorithm. Now you're the keynote. You accept the Lisbon talk. The venue is modern minimalist white chairs, warm lights, translation headsets at every seat. As you take the stage, you look out at the audience, young professionals, professors, startup founders, wide eyes, fast thumbs, all curious whether there's still room in this world for what you do. You begin with a story, not a stat, not a case study, but a story, your story, getting fired, the AI blunders, the backlash, the rebuilding. You even mention the Google Translate moment lightly, jokingly. The crowd chuckles. But then you pivot. You explain how language isn't just about words. It's tone, history, culture, and empathy. How one mistranslation can cause a loss of millions or a loss of face. You quote the Chinese phrase, Yi Yan Ji Chu, Sima Nanjue, once a word leaves your mouth, even 4 horses can't chase it back. The room falls silent. You close with a reminder that while AI can mimic structure, it still fails at meaning. Because meaning is human, the applause is long, a standing ovation, not because you dazzled them with buzzwords, but because you reminded them of something they were forgetting, that behind every perfect sentence is a beating heart. Historical tidbit. In ancient Egypt, scribes were held in such high esteem that they were often buried with their ink pots. Historians still argue whether this was symbolic or a form of writers' eternal punishment. You leave the stage feeling something strange. Not pride, not revenge, just peace. It's a Friday evening when you get the last message you ever expected. Your former CEO, emails you directly. No subject line, just scene 2. That's it. No backstory, no attempt at framing, no corporate spin. You stare at it for a moment, like it might suddenly expand into a novel-length apology. It doesn't. But you don't delete it either. You archive it, because some victories don't need confetti. Later that night, you sit on your balcony laptop in your lap, tinkering with a new project, something you've been quietly dreaming about, a mentorship platform for young translators, a space that teaches not just the grammar, but the ethics, the business, and yes, the politics of language. You write the tagline, "Speak well, be heard." Quirky fact. The Rosetta Stone was key to deciphering Egyptian hieroglyphs, but for centuries it sat misunderstood in a museum gathering dust. Historians still argue whether it was neglected because no one could see its true value, just like you were, and yet here you are deciphered, not by someone else, but by yourself. You've built something better than a job. You've built a legacy of clarity, dignity, and intent. Your inbox dings one last time for the night. It's a young woman in Argentina, just out of university. She stumbled across your Lisbon talk and writes, "You made me believe that our work matters. I want to do what you do." You stare at the message for a long time. Then you reply, "It already does, and you already are." And as the city hums beneath your window and the world spins one more time, you realize this isn't a comeback story anymore. It's a relay, and your hand is open, offering the next runner the baton. So now, as you lean back in your chair, the evening softens around you. The glow of your laptop screen dims, reflecting in the surface of your untouched tea. Outside, a breeze stirs the trees, gentle, like a whisper, in a language you can't quite place, but somehow understand. You've walked a path that started in silence, dismissed, undervalued, told a machine could do your job better. But along the way, word by word, sentence by sentence, you proved something much larger than a resume ever could. That presence matters. That precision matters. That people matter. There's a quiet pride in knowing your skill couldn't be downloaded, that the very thing they thought made you replaceable made you irreplaceable. And now, as new messages filter into your inbox, not out of obligation, but admiration, you don't feel the need to rush. You just breathe, because your words found their home, your purpose found its place. And somewhere someone else is opening their first dictionary, watching your TEDx talk, or drafting their first contract, and they'll think of you, not just as a translator, but as a translator of meaning, of worth, of second chances. The world needs more of that. And as you turn off the screen, let your shoulders drop and stretch into the stillness, you know this isn't the end. Just a pause between powerful sentences. So go ahead, rest. Tomorrow, your voice picks up right where it left off. clear, confident, and deeply, unmistakably human. Thank you for listening to the story.